Okay, so this is lecture number 2 for the simultaneous class. In this lecture, we're going to be spending a lot of time doing practices, doing some interpreting practices. I'm not sure how much you have actually studied during this week, or how difficult things were, whether you feel like it was kind of overwhelming or not, or how much time you put into it. But if you recall correctly, oh my goodness, I need a haircut. So I'll promise I'll get one over the weekend. So if you recall correctly, I asked you to review the sample arraignments 1 and 2 from the class manual. And I also ask you to read the arraignment in the class manual. And then I ask you to go to the lab, download the script with all the arraignments, a total of 10, and look at the script and the corresponding translations and create flashcards and start studying it. And that was really your task up at this point for this lecture. However, I told you if you have more time and you want to start practicing, you're more than welcome to do that. So what's going to happen now is that those of you that already did some practice will feel a little bit more comfortable when I play the audio, because today we're going to be doing two very important things. We're going to be looking at your arraignments, see how you interpret. And then we're going to look at a practice to increase that ability to interpret at the same time, which we call the simultaneous mode of interpretation. So I would say that 75% of the lecture today is dedicated to practice and to the development of interpreting skills, particularly in this case, the simultaneous skill. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be monitoring you, but it's up to you if you want to be monitored. If you feel that you're not ready yet and you want to be monitored next week, that's perfectly fine. In order for you if you want to be monitored, you will find on top of the player, you will see a blue button that says monitoring. If you click on it, you can do that right now. A Zoom meeting is going to start. It's going to kind of open for you, that Zoom meeting. Let me see if I have it right here. Yeah, I have it right here. And when you open that Zoom meeting, you're going to be placed in what we call a waiting room, and just stay in the waiting room and stay there for the whole duration of the class. What will happen is that when it's your turn to be monitored, I will allow you to come into what we call my virtual space. And I see people already coming, but you have to wait in the waiting room. So once you come into my virtual space, then when I admit you, which I won't yet, see, let me show you what you will see on this side. See, if you were to look at my panel here for this Zoom, you will see people coming in at all times, and everybody's going to come in to the waiting room. Okay. Now, one of the things that will help me tremendously is if you can change your name. If you know how to do that, that'll be great, because sometimes it's only a first name. Sometimes it's just an email. Email address will work for me as well. And you have to remember that when I monitor you, I'm going to create an audio file. And that audio file is going to be sent to you today, this afternoon. But around 4 o'clock or even earlier than that. But I can only do that if I know your email address, or if I have a way of identifying you, either email address, or you may want to actually write your full name or your last name. So if you can change that, that will be fine. If you cannot, then you're going to find that I will ask you when you come into the session, then you're monitored. I may ask you, what your name is. I really hate to interrupt you when you're interpreting. So quite often what I say is, look, if you don't have your email address, or if you don't know how to rename yourself, in the blog, the blog down here where people some already put good morning, and actually good morning everybody. Just put the name that you have in your Zoom, whatever name you're using in your Zoom, and then next to it put equal and your real name. I will be able to capture it from here. Either way works. So what will happen is that when I start playing this arraignment, and when I start playing this, practice to develop skill in simultaneous, I will randomly pick one of you, and I will start admitting you. And then you will need to, on your end, to accept it. If you feel that you are not ready, you don't have to accept it. But, there's no grade, there's nothing. It's just to monitor you, and it's really important. You want to get feedback in your regarding your performance. The expectation is that you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Nobody expects you to be perfect. It's second lecture. But you have to start, it's like trying to learn how to drive a car, but that you don't want anybody to correct your mistakes, right? And the sooner you get monitor, and the more feedback you get, the better you're going to get at it. And that's the whole point, right? So I will be, monitoring. Right now, I have 7 people in the waiting room. I can assure you I can monitor 7 people. I can monitor up to 15, 18, or maybe even 20. And I'll monitor you in different instances. So, and that means that sometimes you will see that I monitor you one time, and then after that I monitor you another time. So, it's possible that during the same session you get monitored more than once. There's nothing unusual about that. Because sometimes I may get you, it's your turn to come in when you're doing arraignment, but then I want to hear how you interpret when you're doing the skill enhancement, in the learning the simultaneous skill. Clearly, it's difficult for me to monitor twice everybody. Right now I have 7. I can certainly do that for 7. But if I have, we have like 40 people, I just turned out to be a really very popular class. Not everybody's attending live. I mean, we have like, 27, 28. But there will be some more people that may come in, and some people take it on demand for some reason. So the whole point here is for you to just relax, and when I tell you we're going to be interpreting, you just start interpreting. And what I mean by interpreting, I'm going to give you some demonstrations as well, so that you know what you need to do for each of the practices. But the idea is that as you hear the original, you interpret at the same time. So we're going to play arraignment this morning 3 to 4 times at different speeds. Okay, so there's going to be at different speeds. And we're going to start slowly. And, the question, of course, is, can I refer to the script, right? You have the script of all these practices. Can you refer to the script? The answer is, yeah, but it's not a good habit. You will find that it is much more difficult to interpret, referring to a script, trying to match where the original is and what's on the script, than actually trying to interpret. And the other problem with referring to a script is that the whole point about this is for you to start struggling with the practice, and you don't want to have a script. In court, you're not going to have a script. In your state exam, you're not going to have a script. So the idea for you is just to start giving, put your best effort. That's all. You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's judging you. Nobody's grading you. I'm trying to find out the good things and the bad things. See, everybody has a natural skill for this. Some of them, some students come with a very well-developed natural skill when it comes to simultaneous. Others need to do more work. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to, that I attempt to identify right now. If you have a good natural skill, which means that you have the ability to hear in one language and interpret into the other language, which is not an easy skill, but most people have it to a certain degree, just to find out to what degree, so that way I can get some more idea about your performance, what you need, whatever the case is. It's just all about benefiting you, not about giving you a grade or judging you or anything like that. Now, when I connect you, you don't have to show me your video if you don't want to. It's up to you, but you don't have to. But it is important that you are connected with a microphone, right? So when you access the site, when you access Zoom, I'm sure that it asks you whether you are going to be, if you're going to use the computer audio. You have to make sure that you have clicked computer audio as you come in. Sometimes the system doesn't show you that because in the past you already used computer audio and you click somewhere saying, there's at the bottom of a box, it says that don't ask again. Which you can do that now if you want, if you haven't done it before. When you access again, just click on that, and that way you're not going to have any problems. What are the issues that I've seen throughout this couple of quarters? We started with this one or 2 quarters ago because we didn't have the technology to integrate all this. But what is it that so what are the issues that I've seen in terms of connecting with Zoom and things like that? Well, the main issue is that when you access Zoom, I notice that you do not, or the students sometimes do not click on computer audio. Sometimes they don't see it because it's at the in the bottom at the desk or whatever it's called, at the bottom menu. But the truth of the matter is that if you don't click on it, I won't be able to hear you and you won't be able to hear me. So if I admit somebody who is in that situation, I'll take note of it, but you'll realize that I ask you to be admitted, you responded to it, and then suddenly you are taken back to the waiting room, like maybe 10, 15 seconds later. That's an indication that I cannot hear you. And I can't speak to you anyway because you can't hear me either. If you have not selected computer audio as you come in, then that's going to be a problem, okay? So once again, to be able to access for monitoring, all you got to do is click on the blue button that is on top of the player that says monitoring. And please, let's do this as a general practice. Every time you come in, to the class, just already click on it. Already click on the monitoring. If I haven't opened my panel yet, it will say wait for the host, but eventually when I open up my panel, you will be able to come in, all right? So you basically access the class, and then the first thing you do is you click on that monitoring. If you can do it like a few minutes before. I usually start broadcasting 8 minutes before. So just to give you the opportunity to access to the class and then actually to access to the monitoring system. And that's pretty much how we're going to operate with this. There's going to be some issues in terms of technical issues and that stuff, but we're going to streamline that eventually with each of you. And you will be able to connect without any problems. So right now I have several people that are connected. I'm not sure how many, but there are many, 15 I believe. That's pretty good. So, and I also know, for example, that when I see Angel is Angel Parra. So what I'm going to look at this. Oh, you did change it, Angel. So, for example, I have Andrea G. With that, I can identify. Christian, I'm sure I can identify if that is your name when you register. I don't think there are 2 Christians, but there could be. David is fine. Then I have, does it say, I'm going to need my glasses, but I think it says Luz Martinez or something to that effect, or F. Cruz Martinez, which I may be able to identify. Then it says Gabriel 2. I'm not sure who Gabriel 2 is. Oh, Gabriel Z. I can figure that out. Kimberly, this is all pretty good. Yeah, I don't have any issues with this. I can identify most of these people, so that's pretty good. So the way we're going to structure this lecture today, again, is going to be practice, lots of arraignments, identical to the lab. Don't use the script. Just make an effort to interpret. I know there are some arraignments there out of those 10 arraignments that are kind of difficult. I think it starts in arraignment number 5 or 6. Just give it a try. As you hear in English, you interpret out loud in Spanish. Hopefully you have a mic and you have already clicked on computer audio, and therefore you're already ready to go. But make sure that you do allow me to monitor you, okay, when I request that. So we'll do the arraignment. We're going to do it a few times, at different speeds. Then we're going to do a practice to increase your simultaneous skill. And then at one point, we're going to start mixing these practices with some lecturing, which is basically nothing else than a list of vocabulary that is included in your class manual under lecture number 2. So we're going to go over some of those terms, discuss some of those terms. It'll take me about 40 minutes to go over all those terms. 45 minutes. So we have a good 2 hours of practice. So we're gonna take advantage of it. Remember, I told you last week, the first and the third week is a lot of lecturing time. The second and the fourth week is a lot of practice. Want to be able to monitor you as often as possible. And even in next week, we're gonna have at least an hour and a half of practice. Maybe even 2. I may be able to make it 2 hours. Because you see, the bottom line here is that what we want to do is I want you to practice as much as possible on your own as well as in here. Now, let me just give you another word here, talk a little bit about something else, another service, another feature that we have that you should take advantage. We have what we call live sessions, live office hours. Which I believe you can see it. They are live office hours is in your menu on the left. If you look at your menu, right below remedial seminars. And when you click on it, you don't have to click now, but when you click on it on Saturdays from 1 to 3, or if you like on Mondays from 4 to 6, we will be online and you'll be able to access. So what will happen is that you will go to a moderator. There's somebody who's going to welcome you, and once you come in, you will have to kind of wait in line until usually the person who welcomes you puts you in the room for this class, which means that if there are 5 people from this class, from the simultaneous course, you're all going to be waiting in that room, and you can talk to each other. You can definitely talk to each other. And that's not a problem until this person will come in and say, okay, for example, just to give you an example, Andrea, are you ready? Yes. Okay. So then Andrea is taken to the live instructor. The live instructor is going to say, hi, Andrea, what course are you in? I'm in the simultaneous course. Okay. So what do you want to do today? Do you want me to listen to your interpretation? Do you have questions? And usually what I tell my students is to tell the instructor, and the nice thing about it is a different person who will listen to you and get you different feedback. So that's why in fact, we have one person on Monday, a different one on Saturday, and then I monitor here. So you can get technically monitored by 3 individuals, therefore getting 3 different feedbacks. So what you want to do is, because now you're this class is all about the arraignment practices. What you want to do is you want to say, okay, can you monitor me doing the interpreting arraignments? And you may even go as far as saying, but I want to do only the first 5. Don't get me into that difficult one, 6 or 7. Can you do that? And he has the capability of doing that. So he will play that arraignment, you will be able to interpret, and then you will get some feedback. The time that you will spend with that live instructor depends on how many people are waiting for him to be available. It just happens that sometimes we have only 5 or 6 people, and therefore you can spend a good 30 minutes. Now, for arraignment, you don't need more than 5 minutes. 30 minutes will be excessive, but you can do whatever you want. Just use the resources that we have available. So what you will do then is you study every week, you do the lab work, you come to class and do the practices here. I monitor you. either before that week or the week after. Some people decide to do it this way. They study the material, they do the practice, they go to the next live session, let's say this Monday from 4 to 6, and then they get some feedback, and then they come to class the following Saturday, and then I monitor you, and then after I monitor you, get my feedback. And then some of them want to do the same thing on that same Saturday at 1 o'clock. So you go and just access another person who's going to monitor you. And then you really start getting a lot of information about your interpreting skills. And if you listen to all of us, we all have a lot of experience in this. Sometimes people think that we have to listen to you for an hour to let you know what's right and what's wrong. When you have experience, it just takes me two minutes, and I know exactly what you need to do. It's just 35 years experience doing this, and all of the people that you will have access to have at least 10 to 15 years experience doing this. So we can give you a really good idea of where you are at. I'm the one who actually monitors you and then sends you a video, a link. And in that link, you're going to be able to first hear yourself, and then at the end, once I put you back into the waiting room, I come in and then I give you my opinion about your performance. In the live office hours, you don't get a video. What you do get is just automatic feedback, and the instructor is going to let you know right away what the issues are. So I repeat again when the live office hours are being held for this quarter. Mondays from 4 to 6, but don't try to come in at 6 because it's too late, right? So you can think of it from 4 to maybe 5:30 so that you have some time to be monitored. And then Saturdays from 1 to 3. Now there are some Saturdays that we don't have any sessions. So if you see that you go on Saturday, or sometimes on Mondays that could happen. If you see you go Monday or Saturday during this period of time, and when you click on that link that says live office hours, you see that it says offline, then it means that either something happened or that the session has been completely, there are so many people that we had to close the session. In which case you come the next week. This is on a weekly basis, and it's certainly not mandatory. It's up to you. Whenever you want, whenever you can, it's completely up to you, okay? It's just another service to check so that we can, the whole point is that we can find out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And having these monitoring sessions, it's really important for you because now you have a structure. You know that you need to study this week because on Saturday your instructor may monitor you. And I say may because I usually monitor a certain number of people. If I have 40 people at once, I can monitor 40. I can monitor maybe 12, 18, depending on how long the practice is. But then I keep track of who I monitor, and then the next week, I monitor the other ones. And sometimes I trick you and I monitor you again. So there is a lot of unexpected. But this actually provides the structure that it is so critical in this type of training. It's online because technically it's online, although you have access to me in real time. But we are really next to you there, okay? But you have to use the live office hours. That's up to you. But here in this class, I'm going to be monitoring you. All right. So having said that, if there is any question on anything, then please write that down on the blog. And again, if you notice that I admit you, and then suddenly I send you back to the waiting room, that's because there is an issue with your system there. So we'll discuss it. I keep track of everything, and if there is a need for you to access technical support here, we'll do that. Not today, but during the week. Don't panic if you don't get monitored today. It's not the end of the world, but the key is that you know how to handle this equipment so that or this connection so that you're ready next week. Having said that, let's do some practices now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do a practice on simultaneous, of course. And the simultaneous practice is basically going to be arraignments, all right? So try not to use your script, okay, when you're doing this. When you take your final exam for this class, I just want to tell you that during the final examination, you will be required to have your video on. Okay, I want to make sure that you're not referring to any notes. But during the practice now, you don't have to. It's up to you, all right? So let's start with simultaneous practice, and that means I'm going to give you a sample of what that sounds, all right? So let me just play it. Thing is that you won't be able to hear it. Let's see. You can't hear me and the practice at the same time, unfortunately. Unless I can do something here. Let me see. Give me 1 second with all this equipment. All right. Let's see if it's possible. You might be able to hear in the background the original. Okay. So I'm gonna show you how this is actually done. How I want you to do the practice. Okay. It's just gonna go for that script. If you have the script available, you don't need to hear me. You will see the original. Okay, so here is what you will do.
In complaint number SE.
1 second. 1 second. I'm going to do it at a slower pace. Okay, and here we go. All right, so this is what I want you to do. See if you can hear this. Esta es la causa de la Fiscalía contra Alberto Zamora. ¿Es Alberto Zamora su nombre verdadero y correcto? Yes. Señor Zamora, se le imputa a usted en la acusación formal SE93828 con un cargo. El cargo número 1 le imputa de que el 12 de mayo de 2008 usted quebrantó el artículo 273.5 del Código Penal, conocido como violencia en el hogar, un delito menor. Señor Zamora, ¿cómo se declara esta acusación? Not guilty. Se fija la caución en el monto de $25,000. La audiencia previa al juicio se fija para el 25 de mayo de 2008 a las 8 de la mañana en este juzgado. Gracias. Okay, so that's what you need to do, to the best of your abilities, okay? You're not going to necessarily do that exactly the way I just did this. So we'll talk about the written exam later on. Let's just concentrate on the practice right now, all right? So having said that, let's just start the practice, and I'll start monitoring you, okay? So please, it's going to start in about 15-20 seconds. Here we go.